Cyberion Dynamics Trans-Medium Craft Framework, compiled from independent research, official Navy footage analysis, and logged UFO event from a witness. Overview. Trans-medium craft are objects capable of operating seamlessly across air, water, and space without observable performance degradation, conventional propulsion signatures, or thermal output. They are not a single phenomenon. Based on available evidence, at least two distinct categories exist, differentiated primarily by their water entry signature and energy interaction profile. Category 1. Active pulse entry. The first category interacts physically with water on entry, producing a controlled directional splash. This is not a chaotic impact. The splash pattern indicates preconditioned water displacement rather than brute force entry. The most likely mechanism is a directed energy pulse fired milliseconds before contact. This pulse, whether electromagnetic, acoustic, or plasma-based, preconditions the water surface by creating a low-density channel or cavity. The craft enters this channel rather than the bulk water itself. The result is a controlled crown splash with no shockwave radiating outward and no structural stress transferred to the hull. The craft hull remains cold throughout this process because the energy is directed outward into the water, not absorbed by the hull. The water becomes the heat sink. The craft never thermally loads. To displace the water volume required for a craft of significant size in milliseconds demands energy output in the gigawatt range. No known chemical or conventional nuclear system can discharge at that rate. The architecture most consistent with the observed behavior is a fusion-based microreactor feeding superconducting magnetic energy storage banks, which discharge instantaneously into a directed emitter array located at the craft's leading surface. The emitter is multi-purpose. It handles water entry, exit cavity maintenance, and likely atmospheric interaction as well. One unified system, multiple applications. Category 2. Zero interaction entry. The second category presents a fundamentally different profile. Official thermal imaging from Aguadilla, Puerto Rico shows a craft entering water at approximately 100 miles per hour with no splash, no deceleration, and no observable interaction with the water surface whatsoever. It then splits into two objects underwater and re-emerges. This craft is not using a pulse to precondition the water. It appears to not interact with bulk water at all on entry. The most consistent explanation is a persistent field surrounding the craft that prevents direct contact with any surrounding medium, regardless of density. The field travels with the craft, and the craft exists inside it at all times, touching only the field, never the medium. This is categorically different from Category 1 and likely represents either a different origin, a significantly more advanced generation of the same technology, or both. The splitting behavior. Both categories have demonstrated the ability to split into two objects. This behavior appears in the Aguadilla underwater footage and was independently observed over Las Vegas in April 2026 by a witness that reported directly to Cyberion Dynamics. The consistency of this behavior across completely different environments, underwater off the coast of Puerto Rico, airborne over Nevada, indicates this is a core design feature rather than an anomaly. The craft carries and deploys a secondary object as a deliberate operational capability. Intelligence and behavior. These craft demonstrate behavior that cannot be attributed to passive or automated systems. The Las Vegas observation documented a crescent-shaped object using the moon as deliberate visual concealment, matching its silhouette against the lunar crescent. It demonstrated controlled cloaking, disappearing and reappearing in a sequence that indicates on-demand rather than accidental invisibility. It deployed a secondary craft. It discharged energy from its lower surface. Throughout the entire sequence, the behavior was calculated, sequential, and reactive to its environment. This level of environmental awareness and strategic decision-making at the speeds and scales involved is beyond human reaction time. The craft is almost certainly AI integrated, not in the sense of autopilot, but in the sense that the intelligence and the craft are a unified operational system. The AI is not flying the craft. The AI is the craft. The AI part of this is unclear, however. It could be two separate AI systems, being the craft itself and the beings operating the craft. The cloaking mechanism. The disappearance and reappearance sequence observed in Las Vegas suggests the same directed energy emitter responsible for medium transition is also capable of bending or absorbing light around the craft on demand. This would make cloaking not a separate system, but an additional function of the core emitter array. One power source, one emitter system, multiple operational modes depending on what the situation requires. The lunar interaction. The most significant and currently least explained observation is the visible effect on the moon following the Las Vegas event. The moon appeared to glow visibly larger, then faded, then returned to normal. An energy field capable of visibly altering the appearance of the moon from Earth's surface is operating at a scale that goes far beyond propulsion or entry physics. This suggests the craft's field interacts with light itself at distance, not just locally around the hull. The implications of this extend into territory that connects transmedium travel to broader questions about field physics, light manipulation, and potentially the cosmological frameworks being developed independently under Project Genesis. What remains unanswered? The energy source remains the central unanswered question. Everything observed, the gigawatt pulse, the persistent field, the cloaking, the lunar interaction, traces back to a single power system that produces no thermal waste, no exhaust, and no detectable radiation signature under observation conditions. Fusion microreactors and zero-point energy remain the only theoretical candidates consistent with all observed characteristics simultaneously. Zero-point energy remains theoretically attractive, but currently unfalsifiable. Fusion remains the more grounded candidate, but requires engineering solutions that exceed known human capability. The lunar interaction also remains unexplained at a mechanistic level and may require a framework that does not yet exist in published physics. Cyberion Dynamics will continue to work on this and update as soon as there is more to address. Stay safe, have an amazing week, and love you all.